Chapter 40 The Seventh Circle of the Underworld. The Cage, the Key, and the Secret Kingdom. Within the center of the cosmic egg was a mercurial mystery that allowed a metamorphosis to unfold. Beyond an allegory or a story, it was the elixir that turns lead into gold. At first my form was empty, but after that lapis entered into my soul, it had given me new form, and so I took this new body under my personal control. Seeing what cannot be seen, it often felt as if I walked in a dream. This led me to tunnel even deeper to the bottom of the lowest realm, where the Nagas reigned supreme. Here lived the Nagas with many hoods, each decorated with jewels, and they carried a source that illuminated them all. And now I saw that within my heart there was a jewel born from the cosmic egg with the power of renewal. A second heart to reveal how these Nagas were of the spirit, and I could feel their presence as if they had become great guides. Why, I was no longer an individual, but rather they guided my life as if I was part of their tribe. There in the seventh circle of the underworld, I saw what cannot be seen. A cage atop a mountain of ashes. Now what does it all mean? Said the King Naga. Yes, I feel that I'm starting to remember.
Sa, ta, na, ma means infinity, life, death, and rebirth. This is the serpent's mantra, which translates as shedding the old you and becoming who you are meant to be, which is the true self,
said the Queen Naga. And who are you really?
They call me Ma Tangi, as I am the tantric queen of outcasts, unveiling the hidden inner power to thrive outside of conventional society. If you have been denied love and respect, I bring healing and empowerment. If you have suffered rejection, abandonment, or been labeled as unworthy in any way, I bring dignity and repair. I clear the way for a creative, joyful, and vibrant life path,
she said. Is this the ending?
Or is this the beginning? Certain endings are unavoidable, as they are necessary precursors to radical intervention. Any disappointment, defeat, loss, or negative repercussions of such experiences will not limit your future happiness, but are opening up yet unrecognized pathways for fulfillment. Your trust must be unconditional at this time, and later you will see that everything has worked out for the best, she said.
But what is this place?
This is the secret kingdom, where the four directions come together, and there is the cage. Now once you get the dragon to go inside, you'll go back and return to the surface,
said the Queen Naga. How could one make sense of all this? We lose everything, only to be born again? How do you explain the nature of infinity, life, death, and rebirth when the journey of our soul never ends?
I feel it's a deep consolation to know that spiders dream, that monkeys tease predators, that dolphins have accents, that lions can be scared silly by a lone mongoose, that otters hold hands, and ants bury their dead. This isn't about their life and our life, not your life and my life. It's all one teetering and endless thread, and all of us are entangled with it as deep as entanglement goes,
she said. Just then, a tarantula came near, and it crawled up my new body that had just been reborn.
This tarantula is a power omen, and you've come to a crossroads, she said.
What type of crossroads?
You are called to claim your life's purpose. The tarantula represents a moment when a great decision must be made. It involves prioritizing your life's deeper purpose, or dharma. In order to find true happiness and true love, you must choose dharma. And until you do, satisfaction will be fleeting. The tarantula hovers, patient and calm, like an old friend that knows your inner soul. It knows you will choose wisely,
said the Queen Naga. I waited with the Nagas and the tarantula, but I'm not sure I could make sense of the extreme nature of what had changed. I saw mountains of ash at this lowest level, and in the very center, atop a great mountain of rubble, I saw the iron cage. The cage!
Yes, the dawn of a new age,
she said. It was then that my intuition led me, as if water passed through a crack, or as if a serpent crawled around my shoulders and was whispering from over my back. I seemed to know just where to go, and so I let go. I needed to speak with that dragon named Satan, and then I would bring him back below. As I climbed upwards, I no longer dictated what form or way I should choose. I trusted in this spiritual nature, and so I allowed the spirit to choose. Whatever it needed from me, then I would do. I was simply a vehicle for which the Great Spirit passed through. Just then, my head popped up through the cave, and I saw the dragon guarding the entrance from above. "Hey, dragon, do you know what I love?" The dragon turned in shock. Why, surely he thought I had died.
"What are you doing?"
the dragon cried. "I know we've had our differences, but I love how ready you are to guard and protect. You are truly one of a kind. Now would you like me to show you the kingdom that is totally hidden in secret?" This felt like a great dance, and so I pulled away to descend. Within an instant, I heard the dragon tunneling after me all the way to the bottom of the very end. When we got to the lowest realm of the Nagas, I still wasn't exactly sure about this place, and then the dragon came into the darkness, but still, I wasn't quite sure how he'd get in that cage.
"What is this cavern? I've never been here before,"
said the dragon. Sa, Ta, Na, Ma. It is infinity, life, death, and rebirth.
"You're lying. It's just a hole in the middle of the earth. Where's the secret kingdom?"
he asked. "Right here. This is the space where the magic occurs."
"How?"
he asked. "At the center of the cosmos, there is a wishing well. All we have to do is make a wish, and whatever we think comes forth like a fortune, or as your magicians would call it, a spell. Now we should be careful what we wish for, because it will appear exactly as we say. And once we're certain, it will begin to manifest perfectly as it comes upon our way."
"We just think it, and it occurs?"
he asked. "There's the great temple, and the wish may be granted in the mountaintop's cage." I began ascending up the ashes and rubble, but the dragon was cautious, and he didn't follow after me. And as I got closer, I could feel that the dragon didn't believe me. To work with Satan is no easy task. For whatever you tell Satan to do, a dragon like that will choose to pass. So I looked back, and the dragon would not climb up any higher. But since I did have a wish from the cosmic egg, I would let the divine words pass through me to see what might transpire. Why, I wouldn't lie, and so I began to believe in the words that must be said. It was not me who created this situation, but rather, all the realizations started pouring out through my head. Surely this place looked dark and dismal, but there was magic in these parts, and I was also aware of the infinite vibration that emitted from my heart. When I got to the top of this ashy mountain, I saw a cage that had been opened. I recognized this as if I'd been here in a past life, or had this come into my reality from a past story that I had spoken. Why, yes, I could feel it. Although my eyes couldn't see the mystical lands, I remembered that this space was the center of creation, where infinity, life, death, and rebirth all began. Now where was that panther? Why, surely he was freed, but how would the magic ensue? I remember it like it was yesterday. It was Jane that found her way through.
What do you see up there?
Asked the dragon. I feel it's time. Soon the entire world will flourish, and so I'm going to step into the temple of this cage and call for our wish.
But it won't work,
said the dragon. But what if it does? Then maybe you will remember that the power of doubt will never overcome the power of infinite love. As I sat in the cage at the center of the darkness, I pictured how the 4 directions came together: east, north, west, south, and then I imagined a 5th direction coming up through the center. That central axis was my life, and so I took a moment of reflection to make sure I would allow Spirit to find the right words. Then I spoke from the heart to all of creation to make sure that this wish would be heard. I wish for life to flourish so that our bodies, minds, and spirits may be a vehicle for the eternal Dharma. This will allow us to share the sacred stories and teachings to protect the lives of all humans, creatures, and plants upon the earth. With this wish, we will also live lives of honor, and I will spread the Dharma as a leader, healer, dreamer, and speaker. This wish will allow me to honor those who have taught me as I embody the life of a dignified teacher. The wind began to swirl, and so it circled this central cage. There the ashes were pushed away when a golden key began to glow, and so I picked it up just in case. The moment I held the key, I saw that this layer of ashes was only an illusion. There I gazed into the secret kingdom and saw Sa, Ta, Na, Ma throughout the 4 magnificent directions. Why, this ground was sacred, even though it was covered in ash and bones. Then a moment later, I turned around when I realized the dragon and I were not alone. There in the far kingdom, I saw what could not be known. It was my ancient guardian teacher. There he was, the great white buffalo. Teacher! The dragon caught on to the white fur and its horns, but the white buffalo did not move, and so my teacher breathed through his nostrils while he stared up at me as he waited upon his hooves. Now Satan began to charge at the white buffalo, but I did not know what this could mean. The dragon opened his claws, and so I screamed, "Run!"
You fool!
The dragon cried out.
You would wish for your teacher to come save you, wouldn't you? You knew you were damned without a plan. And of course you were so selfish to wish for an escape plan.
Now this dragon was a giant, and I was still atop the mountain when I climbed out from the cage. But the dragon was on its way to the great white buffalo, and now came the onset of the dragon's rage. I didn't have enough time to meet my teacher from this mountain, because it only took a second before I watched the dragon named Satan screech from its head. There, a moment later, it attacked the great white buffalo. There, my great teacher bled out and dropped dead. I fell to my knees while the dragon turned back to smile. It was a moment of absolute shock while I gazed on from the mountain of rubbish as I looked down at the deceased white buffalo. Now the dragon had a smirk, and he was on his way up to me, but I cannot properly address the feelings that were erupting from within that no one else could see. Was this sadness or rage, confusion or fury? I felt everything in an instant while the dragon began climbing higher to the cage. Yet I was so confused, since I wished to protect all beings so that the sacred teachings could flourish.
Get out of that magic cage. It's time for me to make my wish,
yelled the dragon. No, I screamed. And now I ran in the cage and held the door shut around me. I barely knew what I was doing, but rather my eyes were fixated on the white buffalo that was now deceased. Spirit had taken over my body, and truly I had gone beyond the rage. Was I acting atop this mountaintop while I held the door shut to this cage? Yes, it was spirit moving through me, and it seemed to know how to deal with this dragon. It was then I felt the jewel within my heart begin to glow when I heard the Golden Maiden.
"Cage the dragon,"
she said. But how? I wondered.
"Since the ego will always want, it will take what others wish to control. Stay put in the cage until he forces you out. Then you and I will become one united whole,"
said the Golden Teacher. I did not know how to deal with this dragon, as I could not understand the powers of this ancient mount. And so in a fight, to not allow this dragon to make a wish, I stood my ground. The dragon pulled against the door to the cage, and this dragon seemed ready to attack, but I held myself in the center of this mystical space as I held the cage shut. It was so paradoxical, for I kept myself trapped within this cage. Meanwhile, the dragon was dying to get inside, yet I knew our places needed to be exchanged. Now great strength came out from within, and I realized I held the same power as this dragon. What on earth was happening? And all the while, as I kept the dragon out, he was even more desperate to get in. As I looked down to my new form, I held a certain aura that began to glow. Why, surely I had been reborn into a new body, but this was not something I had ever known. What had I wished for again? Because now the feeling of divine grace poured out in a way no eyes could see. For I was a vehicle of divinity, and the Holy Spirit was using me. We held strength that could overpower that of the great dragon named Satan, yet I would not submit or fold.
"Get out!"
screamed the dragon.
"It is I who am in control."
"You'll never claim the secret kingdom. It does not belong to you. I will forever protect infinity, life, death, and rebirth. I know this as our dharma and truth." A moment later, I let go, and the cage swung open. A mercurial life saved me. For once I was trapped in that cage, but now I jumped free when a new reality had awoken. As the dragon jumped into the cage, I peered out at the four directions. Ever luminous and profound beyond words, I saw we stood at the center of creation. To those who were trapped would have seen this as a cage, but now I saw it as the pinnacle of the cosmos. Just then, the dragon named Satan entered into the cage and spoke.
"I will forever remain in central control of this eternal cage, and no one will ever overthrow me. I will remain upon this mountaintop for all of eternity,"
said the dragon. I blinked, and my reality changed. The entire vision had been reframed. Just then, I closed the door behind the dragon and revealed the golden key. Now I locked his cage and shut him in.
"Aha! It is I who am all-powerful, and I will always be in control. I wish for eternal command, and I will never lose to your soul,"
screamed the dragon. "And from now on, I'll keep you here, in this cage, at the center of our soul."
"It's my kingdom, and I will look out over the four directions. No one will ever overtake me in this position,"
said the caged dragon named Satan. "And so you will remain here in this cage. I do this without any objections. In the vast landscape of our being, two voices fight for attention. The first is a primal echo of our ancient self, made of fear, ignorance, and survival, urging us to guard our own, to see our own world through a lens of doubt and insecurity. The second is a luminous presence, a voice of love, compassion, and courage. This is our golden teacher, the inner guru who teaches us that true strength lies not in domination, but in connection, not in towering alone, but in lifting up others. It's our holy guardian angel, and this is our Buddha nature. It reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it, and that true compassion is the most powerful force. To abandon the voice of the primal self and to follow the inner journey is to embark on the journey of spiritual evolution. Let us do this for ourselves, for all those we love, and in order to reclaim our world and turn it into a domain of peace. Looking back, I was still perplexed, because when you try to block the ego from something, well, it often sees this as a simple challenge that the ego must win. And so when the Holy Spirit directed me to stay within the cage, I became unattached to an outcome. By not resisting the dragon named Satan, he seemed to be drawn even closer within. The ego seems to want it all, and so my own higher nature saw this like a dance, a play, or an act upon a grand stage. Since we entered into the prison ourselves and forbid the ego to enter, the ego seemed to be fierce about having its own way to live within the cage at the center. As I turned away from the dragon, I was amazed at how much the ego could be tricked by the true nature of our soul. Since I appeared unwilling to give the dragon access to the cage, the ego demanded that the dragon must be in control. Now the dragon will be in control of that cage, and I wonder how long before it calms down to see the true nature of creation. Until then, this cage will be the home of Satan the dragon. And maybe in 1,000 years, I'll come back. Then maybe I'll let him out for a short time. But until then, we'll fulfill the Dharma and carry out our prosperous wish so that all beings can find peace of mind. Out of mind, out of sight. The dragon did whatever the dragon does in that cage, and so I walked over and knelt before the great buffalo that was white. With new strength of the cosmic egg, I waited by the body of my golden teacher. Soon I would carry him to the surface, and so the great white buffalo would be laid to rest within our earth.